And now something completely different.
Good afternoon. I'm speaking to you live just outside
I like to think balding is just God's way of saying, now let's see you get laid.
Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
What I'd really like to do is put the greatness of this man in perspective.
The hair loss community has a lot to be thankful for, having you as a spokesperson.
You mean you just call this guy up?
About life and about reality.
And now, America's #1 reality radio show for men. Live from Los Angeles, it's Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Phone number is 888-659-3727. That's 888-659-3727. So great to be here. Another Tuesday night Bald Show. Thank you guys for joining us tonight, or joining me tonight. When I say us, I am the collective crew at this point for The Bald Truth. So thank you so much for taking the time to tune in, to log on, and however you are listening or watching this program, thank you so much. If you're watching us through gfqlive.tv or The Bald Truth, or listening on iTunes Radio or Stitcher Radio, or the virtual plethora of online resources where you can hear and listen to this broadcast, thank you so much for tuning in. Phone number 888-659-3727. This is the second show of 2013. It's great to be here, as usual. I apologize for all of our UK guys who were waiting with bated breath, at least that's what you're telling me, for the show last Sunday. We had some really bizarre technical difficulties that were so far beyond our control, I can't even tell you. It still stressed me out. But we decided to call the show on Sundays. So hopefully next Sunday's broadcast, or I forgot when we're doing it next live, but things will run more smoothly. Let me go out the phone number for tonight's show, 888-659-3727. Yes, I am drinking. Wasn't completely off the wagon. I did say I was going to take a few weeks off. I took about 3 weeks off. And I got to tell you, it wasn't the greatest thing in the world. There's something about having a nice glass of wine when you're doing the show, or when it's time to relax, that I think is very reasonable. So, for all you guys taking bets, some of you won and some of you lost. 888-659-3727. And for those of you just tuning in for the first time, yes, this is the Hair Loss Show. I am a consumer advocate for men and women suffering with hair loss. I'm the author of The Bald Truth and The Truth About Women's Hair Loss, and I am a guy who has been dealing with hair loss for well over 2 decades. Now, if you're viewing me for the first time, you're like, wow, this guy has some hair in his head. The truth is, I've been extremely fortunate. I've saved most of my hair through the use of FDA-approved medications, mainly finasteride, or which is now obviously marketed as Propecia. Certainly a life-changing drug for me in a positive sense. And I have a quasi-comb-over with some makeup in the back, a little hairspray, and voila, it's a guy, a 47-year-old man with a reasonable head of hair for a man my age. Not the greatest. Sadly, this is the way it looked when I was like 27 too. So it was fucked up when I was 27, but now that I'm 47, I'm beating everybody else, all my peers. When you're 27 and you're rocking the side do with a little more hairspray than that's considered reasonable, it could be a little bit of a social issue. But at this stage, man, fuck it. I'm very happy with the position I'm in as far as hair wise, and I owe it all, I would say, to the use of finasteride. Now, a lot of young guys now are shit scared to take the drug. I certainly understand why. There's a lot of information online about the potential side effects, and guys who have experienced what they consider to be long-term, persistent side effects after using the drug. I'm sure that they do exist. I certainly believe these guys, but I do think it's also important for people to really do their due diligence and understand that the vast majority of guys who use the medication seem to be, at least, in the short term, and in my case, in the long term, fine. Who knows? I could wake up tomorrow with some bizarre cancer that I had, no genetic predisposition of getting, and it could certainly be caused by a drug that I've been taking for 20 some odd years. Not saying that it will be, and God forbid that happens, but I am fully aware of any potential side effect, especially any long-term adverse side effects for taking a drug for many years. It was my choice, though. I made this choice, and in my view, it has been a very positive choice and experience for me, life-changing. If it wasn't for the drug finasteride or Propecia, I would not have written The Bald Truth. I have not written the second edition or The Truth About Women's Hair Loss. I never would have gotten on the radio. I never would have been able to get this information out to the public because my positive experiences, of course, coupled with all the negative shit that I went through before I started to use finasteride, is what got me to this place. It's what got you watching and listening to this broadcast, because if it wasn't for that drug, I wouldn't be here today. So when I go out there and I give my positive experiences about the drug and speak to other guys who have done well with it, I think it's important to know that I'm speaking from my own experience. I'm not here to sell you anything. I do not work for Merck Pharmaceuticals. That's just this is my life. And part of what you guys are doing is you're kind of watching, my hair loss struggle and my hair loss, battle and my triumph over hair loss to some degree. Over the last 14, 15 years through this broadcast and, through everything that we do online. So, I started off just like you guys, man, just a young guy dealing with hair loss. A young guy who was totally devastated, fucked up over the fact that he was losing his hair. I chose to do something and be as proactive as possible. I was very lucky so far with the choices that I've made. So I made some bad choices at the beginning, but nothing that was really detrimental to my health or to the to my well-being. But I just chose to put my experiences out there, good, bad, or indifferent. So for the guys that are out there that are very upset with me that I talk about my finasteride use, or that I've known so many people have used this drug without any adverse side effects, you have to understand these are my experiences. This is my life. And while there is certainly a tremendous responsibility when you're out there in the public eye to kind of guide people in the best direction possible, which I take that responsibility really seriously, I still have to talk about my truth, about my experience, and the experience of those I love and the friends around me, and the thousands and thousands of people who have contacted me over the years. There you go. 888-659-3727. If you guys have any questions or concerns about your hair loss, basically it's an open call, open lines. Call in, ask your question. You have concerns. If you're considering surgical hair restoration, you just need to vent. If you're going into surgery tomorrow, call us. Let us know who your surgeon is. And I'm not saying that just because a doctor is not someone that we recommend that they're a bad doctor, but, maybe we can give you a little insight. It's possible that you are signed up, you are ready to sit in the chair of a guy, like a well-known butcher, for instance. And that picking up that phone, making that phone call, perhaps canceling that appointment and losing that deposit could be the best decision of your life. My headphones look like kind of like, when you're a kid, you get those little cowboy hats with those strings. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. 888-659-3727. Let's take a phone call. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Spencer.
Yes.
George, how come Joe's not the first in line tonight?
It's really funny. It's possible that the lines got switched, or that you called in slightly earlier, or that Joe was holding on and hung up and then you called in. Because usually line one is Joe.
No, I actually hung up and called back 2 or 3 times because I was getting your signal on my iPhone was breaking up.
Oh, I see.
And I kept calling back in. I called back in like 3 times trying to different numbers to see if I could get a better connection. But anyway.
So what's happening, man? How are you?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm just, we're getting to the age now where, life starts taking stuff away. Losing another cat, he's dying of cancer. I'm nursing him, and it's just like the third one I've lost. So
I'm sorry to hear
it's
that.
just a bitch when you get to this point in life and everything around you. I've lost several friends in the last 2 years and several pets, and
but
I'm
not. Listen, this is not to take away from what you're going through, but there are people who have these type of losses at a much earlier age. Kids who are 14, 15 years old, they lose their parents, or they lose a sibling, or they lose friends and loved ones, and the fact that we're getting older, the fact that we're close in age. What are we, 2-3 years apart? Me being a lot younger than you, of course. Just kidding. You learn to deal with all this stuff. I lost a lot in my life at a very young, relatively young age, and then at a not so young, but early 40s. I lost my brother. I lost my mother relatively young. I lost, friends, and I've been through a lot in my life, as far as that is concerned. And I've become kind of zen with that loss, realizing that everything in life is on loan. Everything in life is on loan. And if you look at life that way and realize that nothing's permanent, tomorrow you can wake up and we can be blind in one eye. I could wake up and you can have some sort of bizarre paralysis or whatever. You just don't know. Your bank account could be wiped out by some crazy computer. I was looking at my, going through some of my bank statements, just thinking, this is all just, zeros and ones. Some crazy motherfucker can just go in there and take over everyone's account, or just, hack into, the world's, the bank's computers, and you're fucking wiped out. You don't have, people don't have money in the mattress anymore. Your money is basically just a number in a computer. So,
if you remember the famous, one of the most famous Alabamians in the history of this country was a woman who was born deaf, dumb, and blind. You know who that was?
Helen Keller?
Helen Keller. She came from a little town someplace out in the sticks up in Alabama someplace, way north of where I am on the coast. But
I'm really good at pop quizzes, by the way. I love being tested, so just, whenever
you were really good. You're a smart guy. But she made a statement. I don't know at what point in her life it was made, obviously, after she learned how to communicate.
Yeah.
But she made a statement at one point in her life that security in this life is an illusion.
That's right.
And that's why all I've got to hang on to is my Christian faith, because everything else in this life, like you said, can be taken away from us.
All I have is my balls, my word, and what's left of my comb over. That's it. I have nothing else is guaranteed. And I know that it's a little maybe it's a little bit of a harsh joke, but the truth is, I am a guy who has been through a lot in my life, and I realize that I have to enjoy every moment of my life. And I try to tell all you cats the same thing. It's impossible to get through to most of you. But every once in a while, especially the younger guys, who write me, they kind of get it. I think once you're kind of like stuck in a rut like Joe, or maybe like you, it's a different rut, obviously. It's hard to get out of that, because we've been, you've been, the momentum of depression and, just the way of thinking has been, so long in your life, has been happening for so long. It's hard to get out of that. But the truth is, George, you have a lot going for you, man. You've called the show for how many years now? 5 years? 6 years?
No, longer than that.
Yeah. I remember when I was actually working in Western One. I don't know if I was in New York when you started calling, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, yeah, you were.
Yeah. So, I have listened to you go through different stages of your life. And the one thing that I've always, picked up on is that you never really enjoyed your life the way that you should have. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct about that, and I don't. I'm not one of these Christians who believe we were put here to do nothing but suffer on this side of eternity. But when you consider, as you said, that everything in this life, including our appearance and our hair, is transient. Our youth, our hair, our appearance, it's all transient. the money, the pets, the relationships, the friends, the family. It's all transient. With that being the case, and being cognizant of that, and going through the losses, that we've all gone through, I don't really know how I find it difficult to understand how people who don't have some kind of faith in anything beyond this temporal, transient existence here, I don't know how they can keep from going nuts if they believe that this is all there is, because from the moment you come here, you start dying. From the second you're born, you start dying and losing everything. And if you believe there's nothing beyond this, what the hell is the point?
Well, I'm not sure, to tell you the truth. This is what I believe. I believe that in this life, we have to figure out a way to find small amounts of happiness wherever we can. And whether it's, for me, whether it's a nice glass of wine, hanging out with friends, getting laid, just enjoying my work, which I do. For the most part, I really enjoy my work. There are times I really don't, because I do a lot of bullshit. But for the most part, when I'm working with you guys, when I'm talking to you guys on the air, when I'm, strategizing, trying to figure out, what type of content we're going to get out there next, and do the things that I do, even behind the scenes, and helping people out and getting them refunds, and just talking them off the ledge, and all the shit that we do here at the Bald Truth. I find a great deal of gratification. Gratification, is that the word? Yeah. It makes me feel good, and it kind of makes me forget all the negative shit that's out there. Just got to find small bits of happiness in life. And if you do that, you realize that, eventually if you kind of look towards that, you find more and more of it, and you kind of forget it. You just realize that all the negative shit's going to happen. That's the way life is. I don't know if there's an afterlife. I really don't. But I don't count on it, dude. I don't want to live for today.
Well, I'm glad that I'm astounded that you're able to go through your daily existence with the crap in this world without any belief in that, because I couldn't. There's no way I could.
I'm not saying I don't believe. I'm not saying I don't believe. Part of me, I still pray, and part of it's out of guilt or fear that if I don't, I'm going to be, I'm totally screwed up. It's a weird thing. I don't love religion because of the way that I grew up, and just the pressure and the depression associated with religion and Judaism and all the stuff that I grew up with. It was a difficult road for me. But I also don't want to turn my back on it completely. Maybe there is a higher being. Maybe there is this, life force that, I don't know. Maybe there is, life after this life. I'm hoping that there is. But I'm also, intellectually, I just don't see it. So I do struggle with that. But the bottom line is, I tell these young guys who are really suffering, that are putting their lives on hold, guys like you who are now 50, who put your life on hold for 20, 30 years, don't do what George did. Don't do what Joe does. And in a sense, don't do what I did initially. Yeah, I went out and I had fun, but it was it was all part of self-medicating. So how fun was it? It was almost like I just had to prove myself, that I was still in the game. Go out and meet women and, live a life with a crazy hairstyle and, worried about losing my hair. You decide to kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, you decide to kind of just, concentrate on your work and basically hide away socially, or at least, as far as pursuing, your dream girl.
Yep. Well,
What was that? Were you playing? Were you just strumming a guitar? What was that?
That wasn't me.
That was really weird.
Didn't come from my end. I thought it was on your end, but.
Wow.
Well, by the way, what's the situation with your dad? Is he doing okay?
Yeah, listen, my dad's hanging in there. My dad is almost 90 years old. He's living one day at a time. He's another miserable guy. I try not to be like that. But he's still around, and he's kicking, and, I talk to him every day. So thanks for asking.
I thought about your dad the other day. There's a neighbor across the street from me. I moved back in my parents' old neighborhood, and rented a house here to be near them to help out. And the neighbor across the street, I grew up with his son and daughter, and he was an engineer in the Corps, and he was in World War II like your dad. And he just, I talked to him, and 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 then like a week later, he'd gone down to his house in Florida, to his country house, and next thing I know, the guy passed away. Boom, just completely unexpectedly. He was like 87 or something like that.
Look, you never know. There could be a day when Common Law gets on the air instead of me or Andrew or Joe and says, hey, last night Kobren died. That shit could happen to any one of us. You don't have to be 88 years old or 89 years old. So that's why I tell you guys, try to live your life, man. Do whatever you can to try to be happy. All right, you can't get the girl of your dreams because you think your hair loss is, impeding you. Get somebody close. Maybe eventually you realize she is the girl of your dreams. Don't let any of this shit hinder you. Do whatever you can to live your life because it's true. Everything is on loan. All you guys who are saying, okay, I'm going to save my money and get a hair transplant. And, even the hair transplant is the best cosmetic procedure in the world. Even if it works out so well for you, you never know how long it's going to last. You hope that the hair is permanent, but, the donor area can miniaturize in time or something else could happen. You can progress. I know these guys. I counsel these guys. I talk to these guys who put everything on hold until they're fixed. We're never really fixed as hair loss sufferers. You kind of have to just learn how to deal with that. Is that my computer?
Must be.
That's the weirdest noise, man.
Well, have you, as you build your business empire, have you think you're going to join Phil Mickelson in escaping the tax Alcatraz that is California?
It's interesting. I was out the other day. I had a long conversation with a neighbor of mine who is an extremely successful entrepreneur, and he loves Southern California. He loves Calabasas. He loves his home. His kids love, where they're going to school, all that stuff. He is considering moving to Texas. Now, this is the issue that I brought up, and this is what I'm realizing. Okay, we're paying crazy state taxes here. There's no, state income tax. Plus, if you're in a certain tax bracket, you're paying more. However, when you go to certain states where there's no income tax, you are basically, your sales tax may be higher. Property taxes are usually significantly higher. Texas has some of the highest property tax in the country. So you don't realize that you are basically, kind of putting that money back in other ways. Not 100%, obviously. But, you just, to answer your question, I'd certainly consider it. But I don't know.
Well, at least if you move to Texas, Spencer, you can escape the evil.
I can keep my guns.
Antichrist bitch from hell that is Dianne Feinstein, and you can maintain your God-given right to self-protection and not have an evil bitch like that for a senator trying to disarm.
No, I can keep my guns anyway at this point, and I'm sure we're going to be able to keep handguns. Especially if you're legally registered and licensed and all that stuff. You're not insane. But yeah, I see what you're saying, dude. Let me ask you a question. I'm going to take another call.
Full of people. We're going to retain our guns no matter what these evil pieces of scum in the federal government proclaim. We're going to keep our guns, and if they push it, you're going to see another civil war. And this time they're going down because the country's armed. Remember the words of Admiral Yamamoto, who orchestrated the attack on Pearl Harbor and paid for it with his life when we tracked his ass down and shot his plane down later. But Yamamoto was educated in the United States. He went to U.S. colleges, went to U.S. universities. And after Pearl Harbor, after he orchestrated that, and they were patting themselves on the back for having destroyed our Pacific Fleet and a lot of our planes, some of Admiral Yamamoto's advisors said, well, aren't you going to find an attack now on the coast of west coast of America, on California? You know what Yamamoto said?
What?
He said, I would never plan a direct invasion of the United States of America. He said, there would be a gun behind every blade of grass. Well, Obo and his minions, his New World Order minions, need to understand that if they try this crap, they can stand up there with their pansy asses and make proclamations all day long. But when it comes time, I don't give a shit whether it's the whatever forces that are loyal to them in the U.S. or if they try to bring in the UN. They're going down. So
I can tell you that Americans are not going to give up their guns. So
Well, I agree with Aaron Zellman for Jews for the preservation of firearms ownership, who's bonding together with a bunch of other Second Amendment groups. All you got to do is look at every country in the history of the 20th century, every government that disarmed the citizens, registration of all the guns was a prelude to confiscation,
right.
And then confiscation occurred, and then genocide occurred.
Well, let me tell you something. Prohibition does not work well in this country. It never has. So prohibition of any kind, it would be a complete disaster. So what will happen is, for sure that however we need to get our guns and ammunition is going to occur, and sadly, obviously there will be a segment of law-abiding citizens that will be unarmed who and will end up being harmed in their life. And that
always happens.
Yeah.
It always happens, and my last. So we will not get. What's Joe's favorite word? So I won't get.
Yeah, Joe is fuming right now.
Joe will be castigating and castrating me or whatever for getting off the topic of hair loss. But it's all about freedom, dude. I mean, if they can take away our guns, tomorrow they'll be taking away your finasteride rights. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a slippery slope to hell.
Actually, that's
last word.
That's well said. And all you guys out there who are tired of hearing this talk, I mean, George is not far off from being 100% correct with that.
Well, the last word on this subject is all this BS from the government about, from the ones who want to disarm us about it's about protecting our children. Remember, on the day that Sandy Hook happened, some crazy guy in China where there was 100% gun control went into a school and stabbed 22 kids with a knife.
Yeah.
What the fuck are they going to do? Outlaw knives next to baseball bats? More people die from prescription drug interaction every day in this country and from drunk drivers and from people texting and driving than from guns, okay? But they never talk about any people protect their lives with
Look,
firearms.
that's how my brother died, so I know it, man. I feel that.
So you know the truth. It's not about guns. It's about control, and they realize there's no way that they can impose a complete Marxist agenda and ram us all down our throats and make us slaves on their plantation as long as we can have guns to protect our God-given rights. So that's what this is all about. Don't let yourselves be fooled, people. It's about wanting to micromanage you like friggin', rats in a cage. And they can't do that as long as you have the right to resist, have the power to resist. So just don't let yourselves be fooled. The biggest liberal mantra in the world is, we have to do this to protect the children. Well, that's all bullshit. You and I both know it. Tell that to the kids who died in the ovens in Auschwitz, right?
That's right. That's right, man. All right, listen, I think
I appreciate you letting me have my speak there, have my piece.
No, that's cool. I mean, I just think we're having some technical problems. I think some people are not able to view or listen to the show, so I'm going to see what's happening. So you want to stay on hold, George?
Yeah, I'll stay on hold.
All right. Hey, who's this? You're on the air.
Hey, should I change my opening or what?
No, what's the opening? Don't change it.
Well, I had an opening, but now this other cat was, I thought it was on the wrong show. I thought it was on the Ball of Truth. Maybe I want a political talk show.
Come on, it's George. Give George a break. Look, everything's on loan. Remember that. Everything's on loan. Even the Ball of Truth.
It's my opening. Yesterday, America celebrated the birthday of a great American, Dr. Martin Luther King.
That's right.
His mantra was, I had a dream that someday black children and white children will play together in the playground. Yes, Dr. King, thank God your dream has been fulfilled. But unfortunately for hair loss sufferers, their dream has not been fulfilled. We still suffer every day. We're still living the nightmare. But I really hope that 2013 brings at least a little bit of relief to hair sufferers. But we just can't take it anymore. Thank you.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
My name is excuse me. My name is
Would you like to may reiterate it?
My name is
Have you heard it? Excuse me.
My name is
Joe from Staten Island.
Hey, Joe. You're getting a lot of shit in the chat room tonight. I noticed that.
Yes, I've been viciously attacked. I've been filming by George. All the hair loss news I have to report. He didn't mention anything. I don't know what the hell he's even talking about. People hate me, tell me how much they hate me in the chat room. I'm being viciously attacked. My children are screaming at me. My wife is screaming at me.
Yeah, but isn't that that means that you've succeeded, dude? You know, I've been telling you that for years. You know, I get attacked all the time. It means that, you know, people are, listen, you're not going to be loved by everyone, dude. But you're out there. You're doing your best to help the hair loss public, and that's why we've kept you on the air for 14 years.
I appreciate that. Some cat has a new handle. I hate Joe. I mean, that's pretty sick, to be honest with you. You know? Yeah. And I reached out pretty low with tonight, let me tell you that. I don't want to comment why, because he's giving me some really crazy information rather than comment on him. I had a lot of respect for the guy, but now I've lost a lot of respect for him, some of the things he's saying.
Who's this?
Well, you know, and last week someone made a vicious attack at you, Spencer. I'd rather not say what he said.
It's okay. Tell me what he said.
Well, he made, you know, on Andrew the Free For All later on, we were in a chat room, we made a vicious attack upon you. I don't even know who it was, an unknown guy. I don't even want to say what he said, but it was a very anti-Semitic remark.
Go ahead, I want to hear it.
I was greatly offended by it.
What was it? Let me hear it.
You really want to hear it?
Yes.
He called you a hustler Jew, and I was really offended by that.
Well, it's definitely one of my fans, dude. It's one of my fans, either from the chat room or, you know.
I mean, that could be farther from the truth. If you were a hustler, man, you'd be a wealthy guy making millions of dollars, which obviously you're not.
Well, let me tell you something. We all, as a working class guy, we all had to hustle to get out from where we came from. So to me, hustling isn't something that is a it's not a derogatory term. To me, hustling is not someone who's taking advantage of somebody or someone who is not, you know, going about his business in a reasonable legal way, or, you know, whatever some people, you know, have you know, their connotations of hustling is. To me, hustling is working hard, being a hustler, doing whatever it takes to get yourself to where you need to go. So I take that as a compliment. And I am a Jew. I am a Jew, and I am a hustler. I hustle. I work my fucking ass off.
I know that, but I take some anti-Semitism in that remark.
Yeah, but dude, there's if you're a Jew, you're gonna, you know, and that's another thing, you know, I realize there's anti-Semitism everywhere. People hate Jews. I get that. I realize that. Listen, we're 1%. We're 1% of the world's population, and we have totally taken over almost every major industry. How is that possible? You know, it's possible because we're hard workers and we are fucking smart. Period. We didn't steal it. We didn't just take it. We earned it. So, you know, those who are anti-Semites, those who don't understand it, you know, I mean, I guess there's a certain amount of jealousy involved as well.
I just hate your haters, man. They make me sick. People hate you. They make me sick.
Well, I appreciate that, dude.
You know, I couldn't sleep that night after seeing that remarks. You know, and I'm being attacked tonight from all ends. I'm really upset about that. Should I just get to the news?
Yeah, so let's get to some hair loss news. People are tuning in for hair loss, and we're not talking much about it.
the first left out of the show, we had political news. Maybe we get some hair loss news. How do you know I was feeling, Spencer? You're a very smart person.
Say it again?
How do you know I was feeling over a certain person's presentation this evening?
I know. How can I not know? I know you.
I had to ingest some medication after that presentation.
So what's up, man?
Though, don't get me wrong, but this is the hair loss show, not the FIFA.
Oh, wait a second. Who is Labradoodle says who has the greed gene, Labradoodle? That I'm curious about.
Not you, Spencer. That's for sure.
You know, I also find it funny that, you know, if someone is earns a living and becomes successful in this world, in this our capitalist society here in the U.S., that greed is always involved. It's always interjected that there's greed involved. It's not just working hard and earning a living and doing well in life. It's all about greed for those who can't earn themselves. I find that fascinating.
Is he saying you're greedy, Spencer? Is that what he's trying to say? That was all?
I don't know.
I mean, that could be far from the truth. You've turned down big contracts to endorse phony products. How dare anyone say that about you? I've known you for 14 years. You could have made a lot of money and you've turned it down. Who are these guys kidding? They don't know the truth. I know the truth.
Well, you know, guys who actually feel that they can't do it on their own in life. They can't make it. They can't get to the point where they have their head above water and they're doing well on their own 2 feet, without, depending on someone else to give them a living, to give them their health insurance, to put a roof over their head, to give them a job, to tell them what they need to do in order to earn money. Most people can't, really comprehend what it takes to start from nothing and develop something, to grow a business, to conceive of, a business and to make it work and to make it successful. For most people, it's impossible. So, there has to be some sort of an angle. In order for someone to be successful on their own in America, they have to have some bizarre angle. They have to be greedy. They have to be ripping people off. That's the way that it is.
Tonight's a hateful show. I'll have to castigate Labrador besides, at least tonight, man. It's really hateful. It's really a hateful show tonight. I'm getting really upset.
Listen, with all due respect, Joe, I don't mind the comments. I think everyone has the right to make their comments, and I've said that before. Friday night, some guy was kicked out. Andrew kicked some guy out of the chat room because he said something. I don't know if it was about me or about him. I'm like, dude, that's what this is all about. It's about interacting. Let these guys say what they want to say. It's not a big deal. There's nothing wrong with them having an opinion. But if someone, thrusts their opinion, in my direction or, in your direction, for instance, we have the right also to, state our position. So I don't think that any of that shit should be, not allowed, Joe. I think these guys all have the right to their own opinion.
I have to say this is the most hateful show I've seen, and we've only been on the air 39 minutes. It's full of hate. I have to say that.
Say it again? Bizarre. It's the what?
The show is full of hate tonight. It's pretty bizarre.
You know what? I'm having a good time actually tonight. I had a drink earlier. I decided I was going to relax tonight, have a good meal, just have basically like a free for all for the bald truth.
All right.
So what's up? So tell me the news.
Well, of course, there's so much news to give. Obviously I'll just summarize it. Okay, first of all, there's a big YouTube presentation going on by the University of Bradford.
Right.
Dr. Valerie Randall, it's all over YouTube, as you probably know.
Right.
She just put it out last week that about her studies with she works with Allergan about Bobman.
Right.
The bottom line, in her studies, she's using a slightly stronger dosage than Latisse, and she's achieving 30% regrowth in human hair follicles, which, in my opinion, expert opinion, is pretty amazing. It's better than a hair transplant.
I think it is amazing, but we also don't know how long those terminal hairs are going to be growing. You don't know how, a 30% increase of vellus hairs, it's still amazing to see that growth, but it doesn't really change the, your appearance. It's not something that is necessarily aesthetically appreciable. However, according to them, the hair is growing, but we don't know how long it's going to cycle. We don't know if it's going to kind of be like a minoxidil situation where it kind of keeps the hair in a longer anagen phase, and then it kind of almost acts like a Band-Aid where it's just a temporary 2 or 3 year fix, which is still not so bad, especially if guys are, holding off until the next great thing comes.
Well, if you could theoretically increase 30% on a NOAA 6, that's about 12,000 grafts, which are possible to achieve. That's pretty dramatic, in my expert opinion. That's what they're stating is true. I don't know. Allergan.
No, they're not saying that they're growing back 30% of an entire bald man's scalp. Joe, that's not that.
No, if they can. I'm not saying that's what they're stating. If they can, theoretically, that's
right.
What they're saying. Allergan is having the first week of February. They're having a conference call. We all know that's going to be about.
Right.
The phase 2 data of what Bobman actually does. That's the bottom line. I don't know what it does. No one knows, except other people on the forums. They know. I don't have that information. They do.
Yeah.
I mean that very sarcastically. My second piece of news is Dr. I think it's Scalistas. I can't get his exact pronunciation of his name. The New York Ear and Eye Infirmary is conducting a clinical trial, which is on clinicaltrials.gov. It's an actual trial. He's incorporated fibrin or PRP matrix. I don't know if you're aware of that.
He incorporated what? No, you know what? I'm not. I had a very busy week, so I didn't read anything that was happening this week, and no one sent me anything. So To me,
Well,
actually,
it's not bullshit.
this is actually new news for me.
Well, I actually saw the BallTruthTalk.com. This Dr. Scalia in New York, he's conducting a clinical trial. He's now in phase 3. He's been doing it a couple of years. It's on clinicaltrials.gov, actually. According to him, I've seen no photographs. I have no evidence. He's incorporating fibrin as opposed to ACell with PRP, and he's achieving amazing results, according to his studies. I have no
you know
proof
what?
of this.
I appreciate. Actually, I'm
gonna
gonna have to check that out. I appreciate that. Like I said, I had extremely busy last week. I mean, this is the beginning of the week, but last week too. So like the last 10 days, I have been totally like almost underground, dealing with some stuff that I have to take care of. So I'm definitely gonna look into that.
Well, this doctor, he's out of the New York Area Infirmary. He's a well-known New York plastic surgeon. He's a very high reputation, and he's stating incredible things. I'm not saying it works. It doesn't work. I'm just reporting.
That's so funny. So that's on my forum, and where is it?
It's on your forum, BallTruth.com. It's called Fibrin with PRP. Is the thread?
And it's on Ball Truth Talk.
Yes, it is. Dr. Scalia. I can't remember the exact pronunciation. And the final thing is our good friend Dr. Negro. People on other forums are asking you, and I'm sure you're aware of this. Your staff has notified you, and he responded back that he Skyped you to have an interview with you. I don't know if you were aware of that.
He didn't Skype me. Actually, I got an email from our moderator, and basically, we had asked for his Skype information. We'd also, basically explained to him that in order for him to post on Ball Truth Talk, there's a certain protocol. So we allowed him in to post. Look, at this point, and I think Dr. Negum has to understand this, that if I decide to conduct an interview with him, he gets, and this is not to sound obnoxious, but he gets a certain amount of credibility that will bring more patients to him, that will help to obviously increase his income. And the truth is, I don't feel comfortable with that at this point. I don't see anything that he's been able to bring to the table that has any solid data that can show that this guy is multiplying hair. However, and people ask me, I've gotten some emails. So why did you interview Dr. Go? Well, Go has been around for a long time. At the very least, Go is doing a very he's providing a decent surgical hair restoration, for sure. And I think that he has a lot of good ideas, and I've definitely read his work, and I think that there's some significant promise. So I wanted to put it out there. Now, I know that it's helped Dr. Go tremendously. I know it's grown his practice tremendously. I make no money from Dr. Go whatsoever. But I don't think Dr. Go is putting people in harm's way. And I would feel, really not great about bringing this guy on who, to me, really hasn't been able to show anything significant. If you take a look at his website, it's very unsophisticated. You can't blame that on the fact that he's actually, practicing in India. There is, a tremendous amount of sophistication there, and there's some, great doctors and some great science happening. So, in time, I think that if he's able to present what we need to be presented to, if he can provide some sort of legitimacy, I would feel completely confident and comfortable interviewing him. But at this point, I just don't see why. I mean, what do you think, Joe?
Well, I've studied some of the pictures he's presenting on the internet. I mean, I'm not saying that if they're real, this man has cured hair loss. If he's turned a no at 1, a no at 6 into a no at 1.
Let me ask you, if you were a consumer and you were to hear an interview with me, and and I'm out there and I'm interviewing Dr. Negum about his hair multiplication process. If you were a desperate hair loss sufferer, it's probably a good chance that you would, maybe give him a call and take a chance. It's not that expensive to have a session done. Maybe fly to India, give it a shot, because we know how desperate we all are. And I'm not saying that what he's doing is not actually working, but I have not seen really good evidence that it is. So, when he's able to present that to me, I'd be more than happy to talk to him. I'd be more than happy to have him on the show. But at this point, I don't feel comfortable. I mean, is that fair?
No, you're very fair, Spencer. Of course you're fair. You're the fairest man in the world. But he's insinuating online that you'll be giving him an interview. That's what he's insinuating. I don't know if you're aware of that. on other sites.
What do you say, that I won't give him an interview?
No, on other sites, he's strongly insinuating that you are going to give him an interview.
Well, that's not true.
I understand that, but that's what he's stating.
That's certainly not true. And if I felt at the time, when the time is right to have him, on the show or do a recorded interview, I will. But at this point, I just can't see it. It doesn't seem reasonable to me. Right now he showed us nothing except, he's out there. He's kind of like, in the trenches, in my view, kind of pandering to the people in the message forum, which I think it's not a great way to get your word out there. You know how you do that? You provide, great before and afters. You provide great testimonials. You provide real science. You put a couple of papers out there. As far as Dr. Go is concerned, as far as my relationship with Dr. Go, I have a great relationship with Dr. Go. I am not 100% convinced that what he is doing is, pure, follicular regeneration the way that they're claiming. However, I do believe that he is, working towards a final goal that could possibly benefit a lot of people. I also think that, for the most part, the work that I've seen recently, the last 2 years, has been very clean. So I have no problem with Dr. Go. Would I tell a family member, a friend, someone I love to go to Dr. Go for a hair transplant? Probably not. I at this point, I would not. But that's just my opinion. And I'm just one guy. As far as Dr. Needham is concerned, eventually I think, if he's really sincere, he's going to come out with enough evidence where we're going to feel comfortable, having him on the show, and he'll get his due. He'll get plenty of business, and hopefully he can help a lot of people. But at this point, I'm not comfortable with it.
Well, and one more final thing, if you don't mind, and two more final things. My expert opinion is that Dr. Negram is desperately trying to attach himself to you, the whole truth. Have you noticed that?
That would be pretty obnoxious for me to say that I have, and or that I feel that way, because I don't.
Well, on the other side, just do the same.
I don't take enough time to read the form, and I should. I try to read it at least once a week, and I have seen him obviously on our forum and on other forums. I don't know. I'm sure he's a nice guy, and I'm sure, in his mind, he really believes in what he's doing, and maybe he's doing what he's doing. I don't know. At this point, I just don't see the evidence. And the way that he's been presenting it to the hair loss consumer, to me, it's not credible. Not yet, anyway. But it might be. He might figure it out. Okay, this is the way that it has to be presented, and I am able to do this, so I'm going to present it in a more credible fashion. And then, we could all say, great, this guy's helping a lot of people. But right now, as it stands today, I am not convinced. And the truth of the matter is, that's just my opinion. I don't need to be convinced for you guys to be convinced. That I've been saying that for the last 14 years. I'm out there giving my opinion. This is the way that I feel about the situation. And, I'm not a god. I'm just a guy that, I think I have some pretty decent insight. But, maybe you guys can prove me wrong. Go out there, get the procedure done, and if you're coming back with a full head of hair, God Almighty, I will bow down to this guy.
Well, maybe Dr. Negram will fly me to India. I'm willing to be guinea pig. What do you think about that?
You know what, he would, but I don't know how comfortable I would feel with that. You can do it on your own accord.
If you told me not to, I wouldn't do it.
No, you can do it on your own accord, but I wouldn't want to do it through the ball truth, because I wouldn't feel comfortable if you were harmed. Obviously.
I'm sorry, why? I can't hear what you say.
I would feel terrible if you were harmed in some way, obviously. So I just, if you wanted to do it on your own, if you wanted to do it on your own and report it back to the Ball Truth, great, but I wouldn't want it to be a part of the program.
Well, he's listening to the show right now, as you probably know, him and his staff.
Whatever, and again, I have the utmost respect for anyone who's out there trying to do their thing. He has to understand that at least at this juncture, at this point, he has not proven to me, on a personal level, that he is providing anything that he's claiming to provide. However, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, and I could be proven. Once I'm proven wrong, I'm like, all right, great, dude, you're the man. I will promote the shit out of this guy, and he'll be booked out. He'll be booked out for 10 years. He'll never have to worry about money for the rest of his life. But until that point, oh, dude, you got it. You know that. But until that point, how can I do that? How can I live with myself and do that? You know, I have just reported on the news about what's happening in hair loss, and guys have jumped on that bandwagon, and in some instances they've been burned because they got in early on a certain procedure, whether it's ACell or some other stuff, and because they heard about it on this show, because I took the time to interview doctors about their findings. Automatically, it adds a certain sense of credibility, so people will jump on that bandwagon, even though I always say, don't do it. Wait for someone else to do it. Wait till there's more clinical evidence before you get something done. Even if I believe that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, or the next greatest thing, I always tell people to do their own due diligence because, it's not like I jumped out and jumped in and get any of this stuff done. I can't speak tonight. It's not like I jumped in feet first to get something done. I'm very cautious. And I tell everybody to do the same. But just because it's on this show, people will think that it's legitimate. And that's where I get concerned.
Well, as you know, a couple of years ago, I went for the ACell or PRP. I didn't do anything from that, but I wasn't harmed in any way. I can't even discredit the doctor. I wasn't harmed. Didn't hurt me.
That's true. And by the way, the guy who's saying next topic, please call in. If you want another topic, why don't you call in and suggest something or ask a question, and we can switch topics.
Let me get to do one more quick topic, if I might, and which other calls come through. Doc, it's online now that doctors are now petitioning the FDA to get monopros powder and make their own solutions. But as you know, years ago, minoxidil, doctors did it freely before it was FDA approved.
Yes.
So in your expert opinion, can doctors get the powder now and compound their own mixture?
Yeah, sure
or
they
do
can.
they need FDA approval?
No, I mean, if the powder itself is already out there, right? So I mean, you can use it for another application, just like they use any other drug off label. So yeah, I mean, for sure.
Well, Arisa wants to know about Allergan. The bottom line is Allergan's having a conference call the first week in February. David Podcut will be giving information probably on phase 2 clinical trials that have stopped. What's happening? They're going to phase 3. That's big news. That's the bottom line. I don't have this information these other cats have, Spencer. You know what I'm saying? I don't have privy to it like these other so-called experts on the other sites do, including the Bald Truth.
You did find it. I got to take a break. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free phone number. That's 888-659-3727. Give us a call here if you have any questions, concerns, if you just need to vent about your hair loss situation. Remember, 2/3 of you by the age of 35 will suffer with some degree of hair loss. 40% of hair loss sufferers are women. It is a silent epidemic of biblical proportions that affects just about every household in this country. And, we're kind of having almost like a free-for-all for the Bald Truth tonight. So, feel free to call in with your comments, your concerns, your questions. If you want to bitch about Joe or me or whatever, feel free to call in 888-659-3727. And if you want to change the subject, call the fucking show and change the subject. 888-659-3727. I'm Spencer Kobren. We will be right back after this brief message. Stay with us.
The man who's helping to make hair loss history.
They wish to cure us, but I say we are the cure.
It's Spencer David Kobren.
Hey guys, welcome back. 888-659-3727 is the toll-free phone number. Give us a call here at the Bald Truth. Questions, concerns about your hair loss, this is the show. This is the hair loss show. And it's insane. I was out today doing business at another business that I'm involved in. And, it doesn't matter what I try to do, how I try to escape this shit. People find out who I am, and they want to talk about their hair loss. Guy that I was working with today on totally different project, so far removed from hair loss, you couldn't even imagine. 39-year-old guy basically said he just bought my book. Now, it's great that he bought my book. It's wonderful, even though the last book that was published is almost 13 years old. It's insane that it's still in print, but thank God that it is. And I explained to him that, it's kind of like, what you purchased was basically hair loss 101. But, obviously this guy didn't know shit. He was actually using nioxin from his barber. Young guy, obviously internet savvy, very smart guy, extremely successful businessman at the age of 39, self-made millionaire. Did not know fuck about hair loss or what to do about it. Obviously found out who I am and what I do because we started to work together on another project. And he decided to, ask me some personal questions and kind of took me aside after this meeting and said that he really, admired what I did and that he would like to speak to me about his own issues. You can't escape it, man. You cannot escape it. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter how much money somebody has. They're all fucking lost, man. You have to realize how lucky you are to be a part of this unique fraternity of guys who are really made privy to information that most guys who are dealing with hair loss just don't have. Why is that? I don't know, because it's out there. We're out there. I mean, if you look up hair loss treatments or hair transplants or, hair transplant doctors or, whatever, you find us. If you look up hair loss, you find the American Hair Loss Association or the Bald Truth. Yet so many people will go to the Google ad or to the a listing that is just, maybe it's been online for the last, 15 years, but it's just, they're selling some bullshit product. So anyway, all you guys that write me, when I talk about maybe retiring, it's not going to happen. No matter what I do in my life, I'm still going to do this because there's so many people that need this help. 888-659-3727. I think this is Bobman. Is this the line he's on? Let's see.
Hello.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you, man? Well, long time no speak. Happy New Year, man. What's going on?
Yes, good evening and Happy New Year to everyone.
So you are a guy, just for guys who don't know you are probably the one hair transplant patient whose image has been stolen more times than anybody else in the world of hair restoration.
Right.
And it's because you've had such an incredible result with Hassan and Wong. But your image is everywhere. UK websites, Indian websites, Pakistan. I mean,
Yeah,
I've seen your picture on so many hair transplant websites. It's mind-boggling.
It's also great to be able to give back in any way I can, to people who are trying to consider taking that leap.
Yeah, it's great that you're giving back, but I mean, how do you feel about your image being stolen like that because you were such a great patient?
Hey, it is what it is. I can't stop it from happening. It's an interesting thing that's me, but
your image is on your image is like on like wig hair, websites, and I mean it's everywhere.
It's the strangest thing, and there's no way that they can tarnish Hassan and Wong. It's just it's a nightmare for someone to try to catch those people. So
it's not that they're tarnishing them. It's just that they are basically using your image to sell their product when you didn't use their product.
Right.
So that's what I find fascinating about the industry and the fact that you are basically the poster boy for hair transplants besides Jotronic and besides Specs and what was that other guy's name that was with Hassan and Wong that was the poster boy for a while? I haven't seen.
He went under Futzy Head for a while.
Yeah, where'd he go, man?
I don't know. He just disappeared. I thought he was on the forums, but I guess that's not him.
He's gone. He's just like, fuck it, I'm out of here. I have got my hair back.
He was very active for about 3 years, and the fact is he was one of the people I looked up to, like next to Joe.
Right.
When I was doing my research, and it's really helpful to have mentors out there, or just people who are going through it and sharing that process. And I was blessed to come in at the time I came in when this happened.
Well, absolutely.
I was considering a hair transplant in the 90s, and I didn't for financial reasons.
Yeah, well, you're very lucky you dodged a bullet. So now you are actually in the industry after all these years, right?
Right. I'm slowly moving into the industry. Just right now doing web-based help.
Right.
And my goal is to find a way to get in front of people and help them make the decision.
Well, that's good. I mean, but you made the right decision for you. You know, you are a guy whose life has been changed by great surgical hair restoration. You went to, IHS accepted members, Hassan and Wong. Now, you had your work done by who? Victor?
Yes, Dr. Victor Hassan all 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, and people look at you, they can't even believe that you had a hair transplant. I mean, especially coming from where you came from.
Yeah, I actually met up with somebody today who has, been doing some research, and he's kind of narrowing down his choices. And
actually,
we met up, and
you met with Arista, right?
Arista, correct. Yeah. Artista, actually.
I'm sorry, I can't even see Artista. That's right, because he's an artist, and I should know that.
He is an artist, and he's very good. Yeah,
he is. He's a very nice guy too. So how was the
nice guy?
How did it work out? How was the meeting?
He just wanted to, he wanted to see me face to face and see it up close. And right now I'm in the process of growing my hair long. I'm letting it grow, Spencer, like to my shoulders. And when it gets there, that's when I'll start posting some pictures, because it's a pretty neat transformation. I haven't had my hair this long since high school.
So let me ask you though. I know that you have you didn't put a lot in the crown. So is it kind of like a skullet where you have like a lot of hair in the front at this point, and like a mullet happening in the back, or is it long all around?
It's long all around.
Wow.
It's long all around, and it's not. I'm not 18. I'm not going to have the density of an 18-year-old. However, what I've noticed, and this is the first time I've noticed this because it's the first time I've ever done it, that the length of the hair really does help conceal. It's almost like you could say it's long all over and it looks great, but it's almost like a comb over in a way.
Well, dude,
but it's not, because it's just taking those areas and making them look more denser than they are, because I have layers now of hair.
Who are you talking to? Look at my hair; it's all layered.
Yeah.
It's basically I call it a comb over, but the truth is it's because it's long and it's layered. I'm not actually combing the whole thing over, but it acts as almost like a not a tarp, but kind of like I can't think of the word, but it's not actually comb over. But when you have that extra length with enough hair, you can layer it to really make it look a lot fuller.
Oh yeah, and what I did was I wanted to show him my full head of hair without anything in it, no hairspray, no nothing. And then I went in the bathroom after a couple hours we were talking. I want to put some topic on just to show you what that looks like.
Right.
And he was blown away.
Now, so he is considering who? Going with Victor Hassan or somebody else?
He doesn't know yet. He's still doing his research, which I encourage.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, as far as your work is concerned, what are you doing right now? Are you just independent? Are you working with somebody?
I'm independent right now as an independent contractor, doing website work for this gentleman who's taking things in a whole new direction. And rather than disclose the website right now, to me it's not 100% yet.
Right.
It's functional. It's doing its thing, but it's not why I'm here. But that it's exciting because it's hard to get into this industry and find decent people.
Yes.
to work for.
That's almost impossible.
It's a challenge, and it took me a long time because I considered it a few years ago, and it's just now starting to happen. And I'm kind of picky. Spencer, I'm a transparent individual. I don't hide anything from anybody. So, if I'm going to work with somebody, they got to know that I don't play like that. So it took me a while to find that.
Well, let me ask you this though. I mean, the fact that you actually had your work done by Victor Hassan, how is that? Is that an issue when you're working with another doctor? I mean, and when you speak to patients and you're working for this other doctor, are you saying, "Hey, listen, you know what? I'm a hair transplant recipient. I did not have my work done by this particular physician, but I believe he's doing a great job." Do you tell people who you had your work done by? I mean, how does it work?
Right, exactly. I mean, when I get to that point, it'll be obviously I want to understand if my doctors have any shortcomings. First of all, I mean, I need to know this. I'm not even there yet, but absolutely full disclosure, and I'm not going to hide anything. But I think. The important thing is that they understand that this is what a good hair transplant looks like. This is what it can look like. This was a journey. I didn't have repair issues. I didn't go down that road. So, by giving them the insight that if you do it right the first time, You do your research and feel comfortable moving forward. It pays off.
And it does, and that's the thing. There are so many guys out there that they haven't done their due diligence. They have to end up getting a repair surgery, and it's such an emotional roller coaster for these guys. And plus the financial situation. Plus you're never exactly the same because you cannot get that 100% of the result that you would have had if you started doing it right the first time.
Right.
And that's so important.
Right. Exactly. It's like the old adage, measure twice, cut once.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, very well said. All right, listen, Bob, man. Bob, man. Great to hear from you. And
that's how the name became Bobman.
That's right. And at some point, when you're ready to let people know who you're going to be working with, feel free to let us know on the forum or call in or whatever.
Yeah, very good, very good. You have a great show, and again, Happy New Year to everybody.
All right, man. Take care. Happy New Year, Jay.
All right, bye-bye.
888-659-3727. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this? Hey, what's up, man?
How you doing? This is Bob calling from New York City.
Hey, Bob. What's happening? Where in New York are you?
Hey, thanks. In Manhattan.
All right, good. Around what street? I'm just curious.
Midtown East. I'm around 54th and 2nd.
Nice. Very close to my old hood.
Yeah. It's kind of feels like the middle of nowhere sometimes, but.
Well, you should live where you should see where I live. We are in the middle of nowhere. So what's up, man?
Actually, just wondering, open kind of question. I know you guys talk about it from time to time, but was wondering if there was any updates on the general future of hair multiplication. And you kind of don't hear too much about histogen anymore. At least talked on today's show, and I haven't tuned in for a couple of weeks. And just getting a general update. I mean, and it's a specific question as it pertains to my case because I had went to Dr. Bernstein a couple years ago.
Okay.
Just for a general checkup, saying what are the options, kind of a different.
Well, let me back you up there. So, how old are you, and what's your situation?
38 years old. Situation is I've had thin hair since I was about 14, 15. It's always been kind of, it's been a very, very slow, painful kind of progression type of thing.
Yeah.
It's not the typical male pattern baldness. It's certainly a kind of like uniformly thin on the sides as it is on the top. And, I went to Bernstein with the intent of finding out, how hair restoration would fit my particular case. And he was basically like, I hadn't really thought about it actually, up until maybe 34.
Right.
I was like, well, maybe there's something more extreme I need to do about this.
Well, let me ask you, how far? Yeah, sure. I mean, I know it's slow and painful, but how far would you say you progress? Is it like diffuse hair loss? Is there a distinct pattern to your hair loss?
No, there's no real pattern really. It's just kind of more diffuse, But
and do you see a lot of scalp at this point, or do you still have a good semblance of a full head of hair?
I have a good semblance of a full head of hair if I blow dry it, and
You're a lucky dude, man. 38.
Yeah, it's hanging in there. But I unfortunately not a candidate for the hair restoration because of the diffuse thing,
right?
Which I'm sure you're aware of.
Sure.
That type of stuff. So I guess I've been hanging my mental my hopes on the hair multiplication process and thinking that might be something that would be an actual alternative for people that are in my situation.
Are you currently taking finasteride, or are you on Rogaine or anything?
Yeah, just a little finasteride.
Now, how are you doing on it?
Okay, I've always been on kind of the 1 milligram dose, but it seems, it seems like it's kind of just hanging in there. I know that's a great thing, but it's gotten a little worse, I think, over time, over the last 4 or 5 years.
And what about any side effects or anything?
I went off it for a year once, and there wasn't any horrible side effects, other than I just think like the anguish of going off it and
Yes.
your mind tricks you into thinking maybe certain things were working better than before and stuff like that. But nothing severe. I little things like I did notice like hair on my arms was kind of like almost like gone when I was on it. And
are you watching me on the air right now? Look at my arm. I mean,
I can picture it though.
I'm like a 12-year-old boy. And
there was a difference there.
I certainly believe there's. I know that when I started the drug, I had more hair in my hands and a little bit more hair in my arms, and that was over 20 years ago.
Knuckle hair. I mean, there's a leg hair maybe has gone down, and that could be just like just getting older. Yeah, you don't know. That's the thing.
Well, I was young when I started it, so I definitely know there was a difference. I definitely have less body hair than when I started, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, you don't know if it's indicative of something bigger. So it always makes, I'm sure it makes most people worry a little bit, especially the type of people that worry about hair loss to begin with are the type of people who are worried about just about anything. I've noticed, but
go on the Bald Truth Talk message forum and read how people worry and what goes through their minds and how things transpire. But I've had guys who contacted me who've just touched the pill. They haven't even ingested it. And they believe that they were impotent from touching the pill, and that's not an exaggeration. That's a true story.
No, I sure. It's nothing surprises me. The level of of OCD that is usually found in the suffering hair loss victim, because I think there are some people who for some reason or another don't think much about it. They live with it, and they're kind of.
Dude, my brother, let him rest in peace. Was balding. Slowly, but. Mm-hmm. He would talk about it once in a while, and obviously I do what I do. He never really gave a shit. It was amazing. It was amazing to me.
Was he older, Spencer?
Yeah, he was older. He was 4 years older than I am. And, it was, I started younger than he was, but he began to progress probably, maybe when he was about 35 or something like that. And every once in a while he would bring it up, but it never really affected him. He never took finasteride. He never even really, I think he barely read. He read my book probably because I wrote it. That's the only reason. Not because he was really concerned about his hair. So there are guys who are like that.
Yeah, and then, if you look at the amount of people who are suffering or not suffering, or just the people that are going by, I feel like it's higher now than it ever was. I look around. I was just on the subway coming back from work today and just doing a little
reconnaissance.
Mathematics. Yeah. And I was like, there's about 80% of these people who either have no hair or losing their hair. And
it's huge. It is absolutely. And you know what? You may be right. I definitely believe that it's gotten worse over the years, for sure. I used to ride the subways all the time. And, I was, during my initial throes of hair loss, I really started to notice how many people are losing their hair, men and women. And it was pretty big. It was a big percent. Now, you go to a mall here in Los Angeles, it's like almost everybody has some degree of hair loss. And the guys that don't, or the women, it's almost rare.
And you see it happening a lot younger now, too, I think, anyway.
I agree. I agree 100%. 16-year-old kids. I noticed a lot younger women dealing with it, and I think it's because they're starting birth control at a much younger age. It's really being prescribed like candy now, so a lot of young girls, I'm noticing, are getting that Ludwig, that widening of the part, and they're like, they're like 18 years old.
I know.
It's there, man.
You wonder how much of, it's probably not something they take into consideration, when they're doing the testing on, especially, I don't want to say any names of products, but, the various birth control products out there, that help acne and that help.
Well, it's funny because
other indications
they do, and what they're finding out is, and I'll name the products like Yasmin, or there's a lot of strong adverse side effects, and a lot of people are really being harmed by these products. Forget about the hair loss, all the other shit that's happening. And I find it, I always find it fascinating that, people are up in arms about finasteride, about Propecia, when it's such a small percentage of guys that really suffer from the adverse side effects. But birth control, talk about sexual, adverse sexual side effects. There are women who have been on birth control for like less than 3 years who they get off of it and they feel that libido never got back to normal. They can't, have an orgasm. Or they have other sexual dysfunction. But when it comes to women, you don't really hear about it much. People aren't talking about it as much. So it's
true. It's and the side effect profile those have compared to the Propecia, it's like through the roof.
Oh my God, death! Blood clots and different types of cancers, and I mean it's insane.
Right, ovarian cancer, all those things.
Yeah, and women are prescribed birth control like candy at young ages. So
I know.
So anyway, so let's get back to you. Let's get back to you, man.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know. It was just a kind of a check-in. Actually, my friend was a fan of the show, and he called, and he was like, he called me up, and he was like, he's a trader on Wall Street, and he was wondering, he's like, hey, Lou, is there is there any new word on histogen? Any new word on the other one that's mentioned? I forget the name, androgens. If I'm pronouncing it right, but androgens or whatever. And I said, I haven't heard any updates. It's 2013, and I haven't heard anything at all mentioned about it in terms of anything, in the remote future.
Yeah, well, I will tell you that there's nothing really, groundbreaking or new that we're going to be able to get out there and say, hey, you know what, we have 6 months and this is going to happen. I do know that obviously these companies are working diligently to make this happen because they know how huge it would be. So the good news is, when I started to lose my hair, there was nothing like this. Now there are several companies really working and jockeying for position to get that cure or that effective treatment out to the market. So I think that's a positive thing. Do I think it's going to happen tomorrow? No. Do I think it's going to happen in 2015? Maybe. Maybe we're going to get that much closer. Maybe we're going to have a breakthrough. But I don't, the young guys out there, the really young guys who are pinning their hopes on these technologies, they got to figure out something, another way to live their life, take care of their hair loss with what we have right now, because otherwise they're going to be fucked.
And the multiplication thing would work for a diffuse thinner, I would imagine, right? Or is that not the case?
I would say that this is the issue with diffuse thinner. Basically, if you're a diffuse thinner, you really have no completely DHT resistant hair. So you are going to lose hair from the back, from the sides, from the top. You're going to maintain the integrity of your hairline for the most part, but all of the hair on your scalp is really susceptible to DHT damage. With that said, if it's a slow process and you're not rapidly balding, it may be possible to use hair multiplication as kind of like a touch-up situation where, okay, you go in, you get it done, it'll last 5 years, and you go back and get more done, really depending on your process. So I do think that for some diffuse thinners, hair multiplication or hair neogenesis might work just fine, except you're going to need to do it more often because your donor area is not as stable as someone with traditional male pattern baldness.
And you'd pretty much be part of like an initial experiment, right? And I mean, I'm imagining they don't do the testing on people with diffuse donor areas.
I will tell you, there's going to be no real testing. Once this comes to fruition, it's like anything else. It's a business, dude. It is a business. Don't worry about being. It's not going to happen. You're going to go in there. You're going to lay your money down and hope for the best. However, I would say that, for the most people who get it done, especially once it's proven, most people will get results. But there's always going to be the disappointed group of guys. It may be the diffuse thinners. It may not be. We don't know. You're telling me from your experience or your personal experience that you are thinning. It's not rapid. It's a very slow process. So the fact that you're 38 years old and you can still, if you shower, put the right, blow dry your hair, whatever it is, look like you have a full head of hair, you're in a good position compared to most guys.
Yeah, no, that's thanks, Spencer. I mean, that's puts my mind at ease. Do you think the price point? Do you guys have any idea of what that might be?
Well, when you talk to like Craig Zerian, you talk to Histogen, basically they're saying it's probably going to be, actually it may be a little less expensive than a traditional hair transplant for like a product like Histogen. For Tricoscience, it's Tricoscience, right? They were saying it's going to be kind of similar. For Adirans, who knows? It may be about the same price as a high-end hair transplant. But I would say, you know, if you can put together $20,000, there's a good chance you're going to be okay.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured, something around that.
Yeah,
around that mark. But hey, why are you solo tonight? By the way, is the UK guy now like a co-host, or is it just a dual show?
He's a co-host for the UK show, which is on Sunday nights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how it's working now. The UK is Sunday, and this is Tuesday.
Yeah, US Tuesday, UK Sunday. So actually, last Sunday we had a technical problem, so we're going to be actually doing a recorded segment tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun. I don't want to give it away until we put it out there online, but dude, the UK guys, man, they are so much worse off than you guys. You have no idea. They are so lost.
They sound lost. When I listened to one of the shows once, it did sound like the Bald Truth from 5 years ago.
Isn't it wild?
Or even more so.
It's so amazing how far behind the guys in the UK and throughout Europe in general are. You know, I mean, if they find the forum, great. You know, they become a little bit better informed. But the truth of the matter is, it's the dark ages there. So we want to make an impact as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot for taking my calls, friends. I appreciate the update, and best with everything.
All right, man. Listen, good luck. Happy New Year. All right.
Yeah. You
Take
too.
care. All right. 888-659-3727. I'm thinking this is Joe, right, Joe? Is that you?
Yes, I feel terrible that you're solo tonight, Spencer. Your engineers are patting me down.
I'm not solo. You know, he doesn't see me with my new co-host for the UK show, so that's why he asked.
It's not the UK show, is it?
No, this is the US show.
I'm just kidding. This show is so full of hate. It's really upsetting me.
Well, what's happening in the chat? What's going? I'm reading another chat. Actually, not my chat.
There's so much hate. You know, it's like people are infighting.
What do they have to hate? Why do these guys hate so much? What's the big fucking deal? I do a show. I do my best to get information out to all you guys. I'm not perfect. The program's not perfect. The information is not perfect. We do all the best that we can to give you a safe place to get great information. And if you don't like it, go fuck off. Do something else. Go someplace else. Go to another website. Check out another hair loss show if there is one. You know, do your thing.
Are you considering interviewing people I know in chat room? Dr. Cole about ACEL, his recent work with ACEL. You know, he's claiming 60% donor regeneration. Have you heard?
I recently emailed Dr. Cole, said I want to have him on the show. He said great, whenever. You know, and I asked him to be on the other night. He wasn't available. So when he's ready, he'll come on the show and we'll talk about it.
I mean, he's doing a lot of. I don't know if you're aware of it, a lot of YouTubes online. Discussing his work with ACEL.
Sure.
You know, he's claiming all these tremendous.
I'm gonna give you guys a little, and if you're naive enough to think that anyone who goes out there, including the best doctors in the world, that put out a YouTube video or whatever it is, it's all about marketing their practice. Now, I hope that great doctors like Dr. Cole do more YouTube videos to get their practice out there. But it's all about marketing. No one takes the time to do any of this shit unless they're trying to somehow get you guys to get attention to their practice and to market their practice. That's the way that it is. You know, it's funny because I had a guy that contacted me. It wasn't too long, probably about 2 weeks ago, who actually believed that the guys who are most visible online were the guys that, and I think most people think this way, the guys that are the most reputable. And that's bullshit. Cole happens to be very reputable, so, I'm glad he's visible, but there's a lot of guys out there that are putting out YouTube videos that are trying their best to market themselves online. They're not that great. I have a guy down South Florida who has a very, very high, pretty strong online profile, who applied to the IHRS. I rejected. He was not happy about it. But people still ask me about this guy almost every day because he has such a strong online presence, not on the message forums, but through YouTube. So, I just wanted to put that out there. You reminded me, Joe, because there's so much bullshit going on YouTube. Not John Cole. John Cole's doing the right thing. But there's so many other guys out there that are putting out videos and they're getting a lot of attention, a lot of traffic. But they're fucking people up. So just be careful out there.
I'm just saying, the bottom line is in the next 6 months we'll be hearing from Histogen, Allergan, and Allergan. That's the bottom line. We'll know a lot more in the next 3 to 6 months. Do you agree with that, Spencer?
I certainly agree. And hairy belly hair transplant, I'm not sure where the shirt is from. I got it as a gift. I don't look at the label. It's either from like Abercrombie, Banana Republic, I'm assuming, or The Gap or some shit like that, because those are the shirts that I like. So it's one of those.
Nice shirt, Spencer.
Oh, thank you. 888-6593. It's got a big hole in it, actually.
You open your buttons. You think you should open your buttons a little more so you're more comfortable.
You think I should?
Yeah, I think so. You should be more comfortable. I know you're wearing a T-shirt. I haven't worn a T-shirt in many years.
I wear a T-shirt. I wear a T-shirt all the time. I am.
You should show your chest. What?
Yeah, go ahead.
You should show your chest hair off. I'm really curious to see how much chest hair you have.
I have 2 chest hairs.
Oh, that's all?
Maybe 3. Look, there's nothing there. That's it. That's all I got.
You need more. God forbid you need more donor area. That's pretty bad. You know?
Say that again?
God forbid you need a new donor area. That's pretty bad. And by the way, one good thing, I have a new cell phone. Have you noticed my clarity? Do I sound better? My wife broke my other
Actually, you
cell phone.
sound really good. It's funny that you said that. I was going to say that to you. And yeah, I still have pecs. I mean, what am I? I'm not supposed to have pecs. I'm not. How old am I? I'm only 47 years old. What's supposed to happen to my chest? I'm supposed to have tits? When does that happen? It hasn't happened yet. Jesus.
Well, I have some breast enlargement, Spencer.
Oh, do you?
Thanks, Dr. Norman Armstrong giving me oral estrogen and spirulactin.
Now, do you think that happened when you were young, you're saying?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Armstrong. I want to thank him for that, among other
things. I've gotten a little bit chesty when I've gotten fat, like when I was like over 225 or close to 230. I noticed like I was getting some, something was happening here. But I definitely think, I've been on finasteride for over 20 years, and I've had no issues with that.
Well, that's not due to finasteride. That was due to my ingesting oral spirulactin and estrogen.
Oh, all right.
This is back in the early, mid-1970s. That was late 1970s. That was one of the so-called cures back then.
All right, so
I was chemically castrated.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to keep you potted up. So if you want to chime in, you can. I'm going to take this call.
Thank you, Spencer.
Hey, you're on the Ball Truth. Who's this?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. You're going to have to turn down your computer or your radio or however you're listening to us. So what's up?
Can you hear me now?
I can. Who's this?
Hi, this is Hariri.
Hey, man, what's happening? You're up calling me from Dubai at this hour?
Oh, man, my God, man. Yeah, it's around like 5:30, 6.
What are you doing, man? Like why aren't you sleeping?
No, I don't know. I just want to contribute into the show, man, because I'm gonna travel to Malaysia for almost 2 weeks. So I'll be away from all the shows. I'll be away from the UK, from the US shows. So I just wanted to make sure that this is my last call, as I'll get back to Dubai on 7th February.
I like you, man. You're a good guy, and you're a big fan. I appreciate that.
Well, there are 2 things that I wanted to bring into your attention. The first thing is, I was trying to find out the reason why acyl sheets create large scars in the back of the head if ever it was used for scar revision. However, Dr. Shapiro, he replied in one of the forums that he believed that acyl could contribute to a large scar. The acyl strip needs to be placed deep in the closure below where the dermal tissue is approximated. And if the strip ends up between the dermal tissue, it can cause a wider scar. So the placement of the acyl strip is important. So as you can see, there are so many factors that can affect donor scarring, and I'm not sure why this particular case has wider than experience.
Well, that's actually that's very interesting because Jerry Cooley actually presented that in the Bahamas this year, and that's where Ron Shapiro is getting that information. I have a PowerPoint presentation that Jerry Shapiro presented to us that I have not yet put online because it needs some editing. We will put that online, but he presented that to the ISHRS conference in the Bahamas, and that's exactly what they found. Jerry admitted that, at the beginning, they were not sure how to use the strips. So there were a couple of cases, one that's pretty heavily documented online. I think his name is, he goes by EJJ online, that had a really bad stretched scar. And,
oh my God.
Yeah,
really?
it's it was not great before, and it got even worse. But the truth is,
and he wasted all of his budget for beard hair into his scar rather than taking care of his recipient area.
Well, it's interesting. That was his choice because he's been burned so many times. So I kind of get it. And he went to a great doctor. Basanga is great at what he does for sure. He's really good at what he does. I may have considered going in there and the tissue that grew back was really a softer, less fibrotic tissue. I do believe that if the tissue was cut out and if it was sutured properly, he may have been able to get that scar a little bit smaller and then taken the beard hair. But you know what? He made the decision for himself, and it seems to be working out. He seems happy with it. But he was definitely burned. I feel bad for the guy. There's no doubt. And I don't think that what happened to him obviously was done purposely. I just think that he kind of jumped in early on in the process before the real science was really there. No one really knew exactly how to use his stuff. And now they do.
Spencer, as you're aware that I'm going to have my scar revision with Dr. Faridouni. And I asked Dr. Faridouni as well regarding the ASOL sheets, and he told me the same thing. It's all about the placement of it.
That's right.
And but anyways, I decided not to use them as I don't want to risk it, really.
Well, I think that's interesting. And I would probably, so are you doing a straight scar revision period with the Faridouni, or are you getting grafts put in there?
No. Well, after showing him my scar, and I think you saw my thread before.
I did.
He looked at my scar. He saw that there is some minimal zigzag, and he told me that you really need to do a scar revision by removing the strip. Okay, and
Harry, I would like you to take some time, if you can, to document that on Ball Truth Talk. That would be great.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna do that. And the other thing that I'm gonna do with Dr. Faridouni is treating my scar is not the biggest priority. Is to issue out the hair that I have under my new hairline created by Dr. Rahal in 2011. Because as you can see, whenever I can't comb my hair back, I mean, I should do a comb over like the one that you're doing right now, a nice, good-looking comb over. I have to do the Caesar style in order to cover up these grafts because I'm shaving them right now.
I don't know if I should be insulted by you, or I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
No. I mean, what I'm saying is that there are some comb overs which really makes you look good. In my situation, I really have to do comb over. I can't just comb my hair backward. Although I have a very good hairline right now, but I got some hairs that I should shave all the time.
Yeah, you comb it
in
forward.
order to look normal.
Yeah. Well, listen, I get it, man. I certainly get it. And, you are
if you eat them out.
Your guy's you've been through a lot. You've definitely been through a lot. And the fact that you have such a great attitude after being screwed and, dealing with everything you're dealing with, I think it's great. I mean, you sound like a really together guy. By the way, how's your family and your wife?
Thank
and
you.
You got kids now and all that stuff?
Well, yeah, they're fine. Actually, my wife, she's from Malaysia, right? So that's why I'm going to go Malaysia for 14 days.
Wow, that's great.
And, I was telling her that if one day the histogen was out there in Singapore, we're going to visit your family for 1 month.
But I can guarantee you that your wife, being Malaysian, can give a shit. She could not care less about your hair, I bet.
Well, man, Asians, hair is a big thing for them. It's very rarely to see someone balding in their community. You know what? One time, I went to Philippines, with her for a vacation because Philippines is quite cheap, and you can go to Boracay and these beautiful places, and then there, I used to have a bad hairline that time, and it was like I was newly married. And, I was hearing all of these Filipinos, calbo, and everybody says calbo. and I have no idea what does it mean.
That means bald,
calbo.
right?
And then after that, when I get back home, I realized that calbo means baldy.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Can I ask this gentleman, good evening, sir.
By the way, I just want to I want you to introduce Joe to Hariri. Hariri is a huge online guy. He's called he's called the UK show before. He's a friend of the Bald Truth.
I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Hariri, may I ask you, have you incorporated beard hair on your scalp or just your scar area? I'm a little confused about that.
That's what I'm really planning to do, Joe. I'm planning to do it very well, and I'm trying to choose a European doctor for it, and I think Dr. Bisanga is the right man. But like I said, I will first follow the advices. I'll follow first the advices of Joe Tronick, the advices of Specs, the advices of the leaders in this forum, and all of them told me, try a scar revision first. And then if it did not work out well, just do some beard hair into your scar, and I'm gonna do it as well. That's my promise. I will definitely think that one day I will not be able to keep up the race of hair transplantation, so I will end up by shaving down my hair. I mean,
what I'm asking you is, you're going to incorporate beard hair into your scalp, your scalp recipient, not your scar, your scalp itself. Are you use beard hair on that? That's my question.
Yeah, I will use. Why not? But I'm going to use it in my crown.
Hey,
definitely not my hairline.
Hariri, I don't know if you're in the chat, but we have a guy that actually asked if you were happy with your Rahal surgery.
Well, to tell you the truth, look, I'm a repair patient.
Right.
And repair patients, usually, the recipient area is being effed before, so it's already scarred, maybe somehow. And when Dr. Rahal did for me the hair transplantation, or he tried to add some grafts into my hairline, my right side did not grow very well as the middle and the left side.
Right.
My left side is perfect. I have no comment about it, but my right side is not growing so much well.
Right.
And the reason why, probably, they did so many incisions in the past. I really have no idea. I even asked Dr. Fariduni, what can you make in the new surgery in order to make the grafts grow on the right side? And he said to me, probably we would do larger incisions.
Right.
That's what he said to me.
And you know what? That actually makes sense. I mean, it's very rare that a doctor who's used to doing, such a, do you say larger session or larger incision?
Larger incision.
Larger session?
INCI.
Okay. Yeah, so that's what I thought. So, I mean, that actually is very telling as far as Dr. Fariduni's skill and his ability to kind of read what needs to be done for a repair patient. A lot of guys in the industry really think that they need to just stick to the smallest recipient sites possible. But there are guys out there that will, create slightly larger incision sites for the recipient area to, kind of create a certain density in, either a depleted area or an area that's not growing the way that, someone had hoped. And I know a couple of guys who have had that done, and the results are fantastic. So I think I think you're in good hands. I think you're going to be very happy with your next.
Okay,
go ahead.
Sir, I just have two small inquiries, and this is what most of the forum members been asking me online. The first issue is about manual FUE versus motorized FUE.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about this, and everybody believes that manual FUE is the best thing. It will mostly yield. Motorized FUE used by machines or drills or whatsoever, they don't really yield as good as manual FUE. I just wanted to have your opinion upon that. The second thing...
Yeah, go ahead.
And the second thing, we were talking about beard hair all the time, and you introduced us great surgeons like Dr. Wesley and Dr. Yates and Dr. Bisanga. However, for many people I know here in Dubai are planning to do it in Asia, and they've been bringing up the name of a doctor who's very, very well known in this thing. His name is Dr. Arvind Boswal, a.k.a. Dr. A.
Yes.
And that guy is very famous. I mean, he's considered as the best FUE surgeon in Asia continent.
Well, okay. I'll get back to your original question. Let's start with your first question. Now, your first question again was repeat it briefly. The first question. Now I'll get to Dr. A. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm with you. Whatever you want to answer first.
All right. Well, we'll get to Dr. A. Dr. A has actually applied to the IHRS. At this point, we have not brought Dr. A onto the IHRS. That's not to say that he's doing bad work by any means. I have just not seen, at least at this point, enough real great data showing that he's doing consistently great work. And I will say that he's very out there online. He is sponsoring Hairside and Hair Loss Help and other sites. So he's paying to be on these sites and to get himself out there. As far as being, famous, yeah, online he's very well known. But I have not seen enough of his work to feel 100% comfortable. That's not to say that he's not doing great work. Maybe at some point I will bring him on to the IHRS. At this point, we haven't. So, for me, if it were my family member or a good friend, I would probably say, maybe consider some other guys out there who are a little bit more well-known, who might be more, connected to what we're doing. But I will tell you that he has applied, and we're taking a closer look. But at this point, we have not accepted him. And, you have to realize every doctor that applies to the IHRS, they have a check in hand. They're willing to pay us an annual screening fee. So, and we'd love to take their money. So at this point, he has not been put on board, if that means anything to you. Mm-hmm. As far as your other question, I already forgot it. So why don't you repeat it, and I'll try to answer that.
Everybody talks about manual FUE and motorized FUE.
Now I got it.
That manual FUE yields better, and it's a higher quality. Most of the great surgeons right now, including Dr. Cole, Dr. Bisanga, Dr. Freiduni, are all using manual.
Well, no, that's not true. Dr. Cole actually has his own quasi-automated device. So, I mean, where did you hear that? Dr. Cole is actually selling his own device.
Because Dr. Freiduni told me that he's using the Cole instrument for his manual.
Okay, so he may be using the original Cole instrument, but actually Dr. Cole developed an automated or a motorized device as well, from what I understand. So he's trying to sell that. So, I mean, listen, I really think it really depends on the surgeon and whoever's using whatever particular device there is. I will tell you that in the right hands, NeoGraft device, in the right hands, we'll extract really great grafts. But, unfortunately, most of the doctors who are utilizing the NeoGraft are not really in the hair industry. They are having a per diem staff, from what I understand, fly in to perform surgery with NeoGraft. These are basically non-physicians who are performing the surgery. So there could be problems. I think with any device, like the SAFE system or even the Artist robot, if it's being utilized by a skilled physician, then you're going to have a good result. I really believe that. Now, the Artist is actually working on, or the company that makes Artist is working on smaller punches. So right now, they are using a punch that starts out as 1 millimeter, and then once it's scored into the skin, it expands into a slightly larger, I think it's 1.2 millimeters, once it's underneath the skin to get the entire graft, which is a pretty unique I think it's a very unique procedure, the way that they kind of figure that out. But they are actually working on smaller devices. So I think it depends on the surgeon, and I think it depends on, the patient as well. I think Dr. Cole is great using a manual device, but he also uses a motorized device, and he gets the same results. So I definitely think it's user dependent, no matter what. Does that make sense?
Spencer, one last thing I wanted to bring to this forum. There is something that's getting really famous right now, RU58841. Everybody's talking about it, and we really need your advice.
Right now? Are you kidding me? It's been when I started in this. Dude, when I started in this business years ago, when I first got into Alt-Dot Bald Spot, they were talking about, RU548. What is it, Joe? Can you?
RU884.
Yeah,
You saw you clapped.
Right, I remembered it yesterday. But yeah, we've been talking about this for 15 years, so it's now kind of having a resurgence. So it's nothing new, man. It really is nothing new.
No, they're ordering it.
That's the
they're
problem.
They're ordering it from a place in Costa Rica called MPP Treatment.
How scary is that?
And yes, and also, you see, Proficia, it's a little bit safer because it's oral. This one you have to apply it in your scalp, and it's anti-androgen, and it tells you really have to let your girlfriend stop touching your head.
Yeah, think about that. And plus, we don't even know where it's coming from. We don't know how it's being regulated. How scary is that? So people are willing. These guys online are willing to do that as opposed to popping a pill that's FDA approved. It's insane to me. So as a logical, reasonable person who has no financial interest in any of this stuff, in Merck or in any of these products that are being sold, I would not recommend using this, especially if you're buying it from Costa Rica. I would not recommend a loved one or a family member using this. So there's no way I could recommend it to you guys. And it's sad to me that guys are so shit scared of finasteride. I know you, on a personal level, had a bad experience.
I'm talking about finasteride. I had a great conversation with Joe Tronick last week, and he enlightened me with something great. He told me that some of his patients, when they tried in their own way, when they tried mixing finasteride with Rogaine and applied it topically, there wasn't any sexual side effects. While they had sexual side effects when they were taking it orally.
Right. Well, I could see that. For sure, you're going to get a lot less.
Interesting, right?
A lot less of a systemic absorption if you're putting it on your scalp. So yeah, I could see that for sure. But listen, man, we're gonna close up shop. Hariri, man, it's a pleasure, and I'm honored that you would take the time to call me at 5 a.m. from Dubai, because you find
no problem, and you're worth it all the way, man.
Oh, I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
And by the way, Joe, before I leave, I'm gonna use beard hair only, chest hair, arm hair, leg hair. No way in my life that I'm gonna use it. So it's gonna be beard hair only. That's it. I don't believe in other things. No.
You use beard hair on your scalp, but not body hair. Is that what you're saying, sir?
No pubic hair as well.
All right.
Well, doctor, some doctors are claiming great success with body hair. I mean, I'm not mention any names, but
you know what, guys? We'll talk about that next week.
I know you mean Dr. Omar.
Yeah.
he's
I don't
actually the star of the body hair.
There you go. All right, guys. Hariri, thanks for the call, man.
All
Good
right,
night.
thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
All
Thank you very much, Spencer. God bless
Thank
you.
you, Hariri. You're a great, intelligent man.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right, guys, we're going to close up shop. Let me say goodnight. This may be George holding on. George, are you still holding on, man? Is that you? Hey, who's this?
Yeah, man.
Hey,
yes,
man. All right, I'm going to say goodnight.
I had you muted in case you accidentally took me off mute.
That's right. We're going to say goodnight to everybody. Thank you for hanging out, and just dude, cheer up, man.
Thanks a lot. I really appreciate that. And Joe, I hope that your new year goes. I hope this year goes a lot better for you, Joe. I hope there's some happiness that comes into your life, and that your attitude and your mood and your outlook, brightens up a lot. You certainly deserve it.
Can I say one final thing, Spencer, George?
Yeah, he just gave you a very nice.
King said,
he wished you luck.
I had
George,
a dream
Joe.
that 2013 will have a treatment for hair loss. Please, I had a dream.
Well, Joe, I'm praying for you, buddy. I'm praying for you. I mean, I've lost
for me,
friends to
all of us.
bipolar, and I don't want to see this disease take you down, man. This bipolar thing. I mean, the hair loss thing is secondary. I'm hoping we have a breakthrough. I'm concerned about your mental and physical health. That's what I'm concerned about, and your spiritual health. So, God bless you. I hope you have a much better year, my friend.
Thank you, George. God bless you. Most of all, God bless Spencer King. Spencer King. Are you drinking?
You know what?
Of course I am.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take one more. I'm going to take
haters.
I'm going to take one more call. I know that it's after hours right now. I'll take one more call, and
Maybe
then
it's Marcus.
I'm going to close up shop. George, man, thank you, man. Good luck. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Spencer.
Happy New Year.
You too.
All right. Who's this? You're on the air.
Hey, Spence.
Hey, who's this?
This is Artista.
Oh, my
the
God.
Real Artista.
Dude, wow. You have a voice and a personality.
How you doing?
What's happening, man? How are you?
I'm doing fine. It was great to meet Bobman today.
Now, I think it's
Today was
interesting.
great,
You know, you called like the last minute, and I picked. I normally wouldn't do this, and I picked up. So it's serendipity. So let us know what's happening.
Thank you. I just wanted to let you know that I was very impressed with Bob's hair.
I'm sure it's incredible.
Great. Just like you were impressed with Joe Tronics.
Yeah, dude. When I saw Specs and Joe Tronic in person, I was blown away. And I've seen a lot of hair transplants.
Yeah, what you had to say about that came to mind when I was looking at Bobman. He looked great.
Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yes, it is.
If it's done correctly.
This is me, Joe. Sorry, go ahead.
Joe, so you're giving Artista bullshit online or what?
No, because I don't believe it's real Arista because he's making outrageous statements that I can't be backed up with fact. I don't believe it's really him. He's a very intelligent poster.
Well, I want to let you know that Artista actually offered, because apparently he works for an airline or at an airport or an airline, and he offered to help you out to get to either see Dr. Go or to go to India. Was that right? Am I correct about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
So if
I love it. I don't believe it's real him because he told me 8,000 grafts of full head of hair. I don't know where he got.
I didn't say that.
What school he went to? I'm not really sure.
I didn't say that.
What math class he took?
So Artista, let me ask you, man. So you are, you're a pretty good fan of the show, and you're a great poster, and you really take a lot of time to interact with other people. I mean, what are your thoughts about all the bullshit that you read online, whether it's about finasteride or about hair transplants? I mean, you seem like one of the more reasonable guys in the online world.
Well, I would go with what you have to say. I mean, everybody has their opinion. I do my research. I don't fall for just anything, right? When I see something, I look it up. I just don't go with what somebody says. I have to look it up.
But a lot of people who are involved in the forums, they kind of fall prey to what's being perpetuated, whether it's on my forum or other forums. And I always tell people, just look with your eyes open, realize where it's coming from. If it's a 22-year-old kid who doesn't know shit about anything in life, and he's all of a sudden saying that this is the way to go, look at that with a jaundiced eye. Realize that this is just a desperate guy that has gotten most of his information from everything else that he's read, whether it's conspiracy theories or whatever else it is online, and just kind of like try to get your, your information from guys who have kind of been around the block. But that's a hard thing to do.
Certainly is, yeah.
Right. I mean, you've been, you're an older, we're close in age, I think, and. You see guys like, for instance, like Top Cat. Top Cat is a very, guys who had a lot of experience, but there's a certain amount of, I don't know what, I'm not going to say hatred, but a certain amount of, I don't know what word to use. I'm trying to be diplomatic, but he's not the happiest guy in the world. At least it doesn't appear that way. He's been through a lot. No. He's made a lot of bad choices. So I kind of get why he's so, I'm going to use the word bitter because other guys have, but so bitter about the industry. I get that. He's been screwed. But it doesn't necessarily mean that everything that a guy like Top Cat says is, 100% factual. So a guy like you seems to kind of like be able to kind of navigate through all the bullshit online. I appreciate that.
I really try just to use logic and common sense when I see something or somebody tells me anything. I look it up. I certainly do.
Right.
And thank God for your forum. This is a great place to do research. Certainly is.
Well, I appreciate that, man. So did you have anything specific you wanted to say besides you met Bob, or?
No. I've been considering hair transplants for a while. And I don't know. After meeting with Bob, I'm just really amazed at what 8,000 plus grafts can do for you.
Oh my God! Yeah.
The thickness of his hair is just like mine. I'm just very surprised.
Well, also Bob was a great candidate. He had great donor density, and his caliber of hair was very thick, and he's blonde.
Yeah.
So all of that makes a difference. So, depending on your situation, it may be different. But if you have a similar situation, then you could look at Bob and say, okay, this is what can be done. If you're a guy with like really pale skin, dark hair, thin caliber hair, it's going to be different.
Right. We compared our hair. We're pretty much the same as far as caliber and everything else.
Wow, then that's great.
I'm feeling pretty good about hair transplants. I'm still going to do a lot of research on it before I decide on where I'm going to go, or if I do that. So, I don't know.
Well, you know what?
Joe says that we should... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Joe says we should look forward to Allergans.
Well, we should. We should, but it depends on what you want. I mean, you're not going to grow back. I don't know where you are in Norwood scale. Where would you say you are approximately?
I'm between a 5 and a 6, I'd say.
Okay,
somewhere there.
So it's significant.
It certainly is.
So you would certainly need a hair transplant to really make a significant impact in your appearance. And if you're that progressed, to me, you are like, if you have the right donor characteristics and the right attitude and the right, reasonable expectations, to me, you are the perfect candidate. The guy that has lost a lot of hair, the guys that are like Norwood 3s or Norwood 2s who kind of remember what their hair used to look like. Those are the guys that really, I think, have the most emotional trouble once they get the procedure done, because it's not what it was. It's good. The hair grows, and you have hair where you didn't have hair before, but it's not what you had when you were, pre-male pattern baldness. And a lot of guys don't get that.
Well, I look at it this way. I just look for improvement. I'm an older guy. I don't look for a full head of hair.
Right.
I don't necessarily need a full head of hair. I just want improvement. I want to look how I want my hair to look like what it looked like maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
Well, that'd be good for me.
To me, you are probably the perfect emotional candidate for a hair transplant. I don't know what your hair looks like. I have no idea what your donor caliber is, or how much donor hair you have, or what your health is, and all those aspects that are important as well. However, emotionally, you seem like a perfect candidate. Where you read the forums, a lot of the young guys that they want Norwood 1s, they want all their hair back. It's not going to happen.
No, it's not. At least not now.
It can happen if we have hair multiplication.
Yeah, but today, as of today, Joe, you cannot do that, right?
Right, exactly.
Yes, but I think the research should wait at least the next 6 months to see what Adderant announces, what Histogene announces, what Allergan announces. That's going to change the whole demographics of what's going to be going on. Well,
Look, I'm going to make a prediction, and I've been out here. I've been doing this for a long time. I do not think that whatever the announcements are, that it's going to make that much of a difference for the guys who are Norwood 5s, Norwood 4s, Norwood 6s. I do not believe that it's going to make any type of appreciable difference. So I think that those guys who are already significantly balding, if they are in a position where they can kind of halt or slow the progression of their hair loss and then get it replaced with a good hair transplant, I think that's probably the best option for them.
Certainly, you think that maybe a combination, treatments that we might get in the future, combined with what we can do with our hair now.
That's right.
Might be the best way to go.
I agree. I think everyone has to be realistic. If you are over the age of 40 and you've been balding for 20 years, you're not going to grow all your hair back with finasteride. It's just not going to happen. However, taking the drug along with surgical hair restoration, you can be in a position where you're so much better off as far as having enough hair to comb, where you feel comfortable. When you look in the mirror, your face is framed. It can give you a 10-year differential as far as looking younger and feeling better about yourself just with one small procedure. but it has to be done correctly. You have to be the right candidate. That's all that it takes. You know, the guys that are like really desperate on the forum, the 21-year-old kids, the 20-year-old guys, they are so lost. And I read some of the shit they write. I'm like, you know, I don't want to interfere, and I don't want my staff to interfere because we're trying to create a free flow, you know, of information. But the truth is, some of these guys are just so lost. They have no idea what the reality is of what the hair, you know, what's being offered today. And what's being offered today is not so bad. It could really benefit a lot of people if they understand that, okay, there's limitations. I have to have realistic expectations. And if I do my due diligence, and find the right doctor, I'll be okay. But I'm not going to have the hair that I had at the age of 18. That's all they need to know.
Right.
But
that's true.
Sadly, that's not the case.
I'm concerned about the. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say I'm concerned about the kids that write into the forum. You know, they panic. They talk about suicide.
I know.
You see all kinds of things like that, and you get really nervous for them.
Well, but if I could be candid, you know, when I was 21 years old, that crossed my mind. Not actually, I never really felt like I wanted to kill myself, but I was so depressed that I didn't, for a short while, I didn't have a lot of joy in living. And I kind of figured out a way to get past that. So I get that. I never actually thought, you know what, I'm going to put a gun to my head and kill myself because I'm losing my hair. But there are those extremes. And Joe, you're one of those guys.
I was a police officer, you know, Arisa had a gun. I've considered many times suicide.
Yeah, so...
over this condition.
Listen, guys, I'm going to close up shop. I'm going to get out of it. It's 7:15. But Artista, thank you so much. For calling in, and I'm glad you met Bob. And you know, again, don't rush into anything. But I think you appear to be like a smart candidate for surgical hair restoration. You kind of get the reality of the situation, and you're not expecting miracles. You're expecting just more hair. And just to look a little bit better.
Right. Just looking for improvement.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I appreciate that, man. Well, listen, thanks for the call.
Well, Spencer, one thing, your prediction kind of bummed me out tonight, but I hope your predictions are wrong, man. Nothing personal.
Which one?
The prediction you made that Norwood 4s and ups won't be any better off once coming down the pike.
I didn't say they won't be better off what's coming down the pike eventually, but I'm saying in the next year or two, I don't believe they're going to be much better off.
Really?
Really. I think that I think that a Norwood 4 with Allergan's product, with a Bimidapros product, maybe we can get some more growth or halt the further progression. Great. You're not going to get to where you want to get. But it's an improvement. I think it's all positive, for sure. So I think it's going to be like a combination of therapies to get a Norwood 4 or 5 to where he needs to be.
Well, that's a very sad assessment, but what can I say?
I'm just being honest, Joe. I'm being honest. I do not think that
Allergan's...
I don't think that Allergan's going to get us to the point where a Norwood 5 or 6 or 4 is going to be completely thrilled with their hair. I do not think that, obviously, finasteride doesn't do that, and finasteride changed my life. If it wasn't for this drug, I would not be in the position that I'm in today. It's all about early intervention. I do think that the Norwood 2s and Norwood, the guys that are, approaching 3s, who are young or young in the balding process, are going to be helped tremendously with what's coming down the pike.
Well, Spencer, my expert opinion, your genes might have dictated that you never would have been on Norwood 6 anyway, regardless of medical intervention or not. That might have been, your hair loss might have stabilized on its own. I mean, who really knows?
You're right about that, but you know what? I'm taking the drug, and I've had no issues with the drug that I know of, so I'm not going to stop it in hopes that, you know what, genetically, maybe I wouldn't have been Norwood 6.
Maybe you would have stayed in Norwood 2A that you are, or whatever you are. I think you're about a Norwood 2 or something like that.
I'm probably about a 3 because I really push it forward. But yeah, maybe I would have stayed this way. Who knows?
Well, I just want to say, Spencer, it's a great show. Thank you very much, and I appreciate all the airtime you gave me. I want to thank Harry from calling from Dubai. He really made a great effort. He's really a great person. And if that was the real Arista I want to thank him for his phone call.
I think it was. All right, Joe, listen, thank you so much. I will talk to you soon.
God bless you.
God bless you. Websites, thebaldtruth.com, of course. If you want to interact on our message forum, check out baldtruthtalk.com. Join the forum, talk to other hair loss sufferers who are dealing with exactly what we're all dealing with. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thank you so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you. Good night. Good night.